Hey you guys, welcome to Young Money Investments. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the AirPod Pros. We're going to be talking about the best apparent knockoff to the AirPod Pros, the Knockies. I'm going to give you my in-depth review. We're going to compare, contrast, and I'm going to give you my opinion as to whether you should drop the cash for the AirPod Pros, go with the cheaper alternative, or whether you should drop both of these and just find something else that is a better alternative to the two. Let's talk about compare, contrast, all today on Young Money Investments. All right, you guys, so like a lot of you out there, you have been mesmerized by the AirPods, right? The AirPods that came out back in, I guess that was what, 2016, these little devices, these little tooth floss cases. This mesmerized and changed the headphone world. And it's hard for me, honestly and truly, to think about the past times where we literally didn't use wireless AirPods. Like I forget what it was like. I love being able to use these at the gym. Wireless AirPods are just so convenient, or wireless headphones in general. But Apple for me has always kind of run the show because they link in with my iPhone so well. In today's video, I want to talk to you a little bit about these little guys, these AirPod Pros. I want to talk to you about some of the pros and cons. We have a few different categories as to which ones, basically what works for you, what would fit your budget best, and what you would go without if you end up getting these Knockies. Now, the reason I chose the Knockies here as opposed to any other brand of knockoff product is because these are the ones that I've heard are the best knockoff product for the AirPod Pros. So there could be some other ones out there. If you would like, leave a comment down below. What are some other brands that you've tried? What are your thoughts on them? And for me, one of the things I'm going to just say right off the bat is if you don't have a comparison of the actual AirPod Pros, it's really, really difficult to really compare everything. These are pretty dang good. But let's jump into the first thing, and that is going to be fit. So when it comes to the Knockies versus the Apples, the fit is really difficult to say. For different reasons, these are better. One thing for me, honestly and truly, the Knockies, when I first put them in my ear without changing out the earbuds, like the little silicone ear fitment things, they fit better. And you're gonna go, what the heck? What are you talking about? They fit better. I found, and my ears, maybe they are smaller. My eardrums are, I don't know. Are my eardrums smaller? I can't tell. Honestly and truly, guys, I don't think my ears are that small, but ironically enough, I had to go with the smallest little ear things to fit them in, because when I first had the medium size in, my ears, they literally just kept falling out, and it was super annoying. I never have had that issue with the original AirPods. Granted, some people hate the original AirPods because they feel like they don't stay in their ears. I've never had that issue, but with the AirPod Pros, I definitely had that issue. Really, once you get the right ear fitment, and obviously you can see the little tips and everything like that, Apple versus the Knockies, I'm gonna honestly, and I know this is gonna sound crazy, I'm gonna have to give it to the Knockies. The Knockies are gonna get an 8 out of 10. Apple AirPods, a 7. My problem with the Apple AirPods is if I'm already at the smallest, what about girls that have smaller ear? I mean, I'm not a small guy. I'm a big guy. What happens to people that are smaller than me that have smaller ear canals? They're not going to have a AirPod that's going to actually fit in them. And so for that reason, I got to give the fit to the Knockies. Next category we're going to be talking about with the AirPods, the Apples versus the Knockies, is quality. Now, quality is a hard thing to decipher, obviously, because we've only had these products for a few days. I haven't done a long-term in-depth review. Can I say that one is more quality over the other? This latching mechanism maybe is a little bit more loose on the Knockies versus the Apple. Maybe that's true. In terms of the AirPod itself, I think you can kind of tell you have this little mesh vent here. It's hard to tell honestly on camera if that's a better quality, but you can tell by a feel this is more like a mesh, and on the Knockies it doesn't feel quite the same. So those are a couple little things that I would say maybe are slightly different in terms of quality on the Apples versus the Knockies. But like I said, if you honestly and truly just saw these sitting on a table or saw them in someone's ears, you would have absolutely no clue, no idea whatsoever that they were not actual AirPods. And so if you're looking for something that makes all your friends think you have AirPods and you don't, honestly and truly, the Knockies are going to by far and away do just that job. So in terms of quality though, I gotta give it to Apple on this one. Apple's gonna get a 9 out of 10, whereas the Knockies are gonna get about a 7.5 out of 10. There is a little bit more weight, barely, you guys. I should put this on like a food scale and tell you exactly what the weights are to these. There's very subtle differences, but I will say the Apple one's a little bit heavier, and that also leads me to believe that the battery life on the Apples is probably going to be a little bit better as well. Next category on the list is going to be call quality. And this is one thing that most people don't talk about that review this. And that is, what do you sound like to the people that you're talking to when you're on AirPod Pros? One of the biggest reasons that I bought AirPod Pros is because I love the fact that I can stick them in. I can go hands-free. I can use them in the car. I can use them when I'm walking around the house. I can use them when I'm on the computer. I don't have to hold the phone up to my ear. It's not as bad as a speakerphone is when you're just, leaving your phone on speakerphone. I use my AirPods, my original AirPods, for calling people all the time. Now, one of the big things is the AirPod Pros, by far and away, call quality is so much better. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I would not go with the Knockies, is that if you make any calls using your headset, the Knockies are not going to be the headset for you. And I say this because I've tried multiple times to call people. It's like muffled, it's mumbly. They ask me what I said, it sounds like I'm talking underwater, basically. It is not a good sound. The AirPod Pros by far and away blow the Knockies out of the water in this category. When it comes to call quality, Apple is going to get a 9 out of 10, whereas the Knockies, unfortunately, are going to get a 4 out of 10. Yes, you could use them, but boy, I'm telling you what, more often than not, you'll end up switching off of your headphones. So that's gonna probably end up going to Apple. Not probably, it goes to Apple, hands down, by far and away. Now, when it comes to value, honestly and truly, you had complete opposite ends of the spectrum. On one end, you have the Apple AirPod Pros, which are by far, at least from what I know, one of the most expensive in-ear headphones that you can purchase on the market today. At $250, you are spending a lot of money on a very little small product. Granted, we use these probably on a consistent basis, if not every day, every other day. So yes, if you did a cost basis per daily use, etc., maybe you could, justify the value. That's kind of what I do with my iPhone. But at the end of the day, for $250, it's a little overpriced. I'm not going to deny that. I really, honestly and truly, after using these and having these for a couple days, I gotta go with the Knockies. The Knockies at $89 online on their site. They are $89 right now. They have a New Year's special. You can get 10% off. And you can also, if you don't mind using my little link down below, that helps out tremendously, helps me out a little bit. So there is a link down below where you can get that discount and everything like that, and go to the Knockies site. You can then get the Knockies there. They're $81, I believe, is what I spent. 81 or 84, I think it was $81, and that's with free shipping and everything. So $81 versus $250 by far and away, and that's before tax. That's before you pay tax on your Apple AirPods. Most people are going to pay tax. The value is going to be, it's hard to say value because still at $80 for a knockoff product, is that still valuable? I don't know, but this is what I'm going to go with. Knockies, they're going to get an 8. It's not a perfect value again, because like I said, it is a knockoff product. It's not a perfect product. There is some things that I'm going to talk about that I have big complaints about further on in the video, but I'm going to give them an 8. Apple, I'm going to give them a 5, just because, like I said, it's hard to justify in my ears and in my mind, especially comparing them to the original AirPods. The sound quality is, it's just, I don't know. I've heard better. Next category is going to be noise cancellation. Now, noise cancellation by far and away, hands down, got to give it to the Apple AirPod Pros. Apple has 2 modes. It has the transparency mode as well as the active noise cancellation. Both of those things can be done in your app and on your phone in choosing those settings. While both of these headphones both have the ability to choose the modes, and you can choose between transparency, where you're supposed to be able to hear outside a little bit more, and active noise cancellation, by far and away, and I didn't really think the transparency mode on the Apple AirPods were very good at first until I compared them to the Knockies. By far and away, the noise cancellation on the Apple is much better, especially when you turn on active noise cancellation. And the transparency mode, I didn't really find was that great. When you're listening to music, I still couldn't hear anybody. I still couldn't understand. I still had to pull it out of my ear at the gym. So that part wasn't as good as I thought it would be. But at the end of the day, like I said, if you're comparing noise cancellation, by far and away, the AirPod Pros are gonna win at this category. Noise cancellation, I'm gonna give the AirPod Pros a 9, and the Knockies are gonna get a 5 out of 10. Next category, Connectivity. Connecting these when you open up the case and connecting them to your iPhone is very simple and easy on both the Knockies and the AirPod Pros. Very simple. You open up the lid, it asks you to connect, you use your little buttons on the back, bada bing, bada boom, they connect to your phone flawlessly. Now, could they be a little bit quicker? Absolutely. Do I think the chips are like super quick? They could be better. Just like, Face ID has gotten better over time. I think the connectivity chips in these could get a little bit better. But overall, 8 out of 10 for both the Knockies and the Apple AirPod Pros. It's just quick enough. It's quick enough to get going. It's not a whole bunch of Bluetooth connectivity, pairing, syncing code. And that is the reason people love these little devices. Next up, sound quality. Sound quality. You obviously bought these because you want some good sound quality. Now, I have used these, obviously, like I said, at the gym. I've used them for a couple days now and trying to figure out how the sound, really sounds. Is it good? Is it bad? And I gotta say this, if I didn't have the AirPod Pros before getting the Knockies, I think I would have thought the Knockies were really good. Honestly and truly, I didn't notice anything horrible. I thought they were fairly comparable to the original AirPods that I have. Not a lot of bass, it's not gonna, just like blow you away or wow you. Not that the AirPod Pros wow me either. I'm gonna say honestly and truly, I don't think the AirPod Pros are this like miraculous, crazy, basically headphone. I think the Powerbeats Pros have a little bit better bass, a little bit better dynamic range, although those are not perfect. Honestly and truly, I would probably check out, and I have not done like an in-depth review of the Bose, the Powerbeats Pros. I've heard, but I haven't done a really big review on those either. And I'd also check out the Sennheiser. I think it's Momentum somethings. Those are another one to potentially check out if you're not looking to just go with Apple. So what do I give Apple? What do I give the Knockies? Knockies, I'm gonna give them a 6.5 out of 10. Don't think it's perfect. Don't think it's horrible. I think it's pretty good for a wireless in-ear headphone. And Apple's gonna get a 7.5 out of 10. And you might go, doesn't Apple deserve a little bit better rating? I mean, isn't it really that much better? The honest to goodness truth, even if I wasn't reviewing the Knockies and I was comparing it to the AirPods, there's not like a whole bunch of dynamic range and bass and a whole bunch of just rich sound that I feel like comes out of the AirPod Pros. If you have them on active noise canceling, it definitely sounds better than the original AirPods. But for me, for over $100 extra for the Pros, I just don't think the sound is really that much better. Batteries, Knockies versus Apple, you're going to get roughly about the same battery time reportedly. Now, so far, I have experienced about the same time. You get about 3.5 to 4.5 hours of listen time and usage between both of these. You then have the extra charging, etc., etc. Knockies says that you can use the recharging case about 3 to 4 times before you have to recharge the case. I find that works usually for about a week, at least. That's the way it worked with my AirPod Pros. Depends on how often you go to the gym, etc., etc. I go about once a day, 5 times a week, and I go for about 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a decent amount of usage, but I haven't noticed anything specific, that's important about the battery. I do think, like I said, the Apple AirPod Pro case is slightly heavier, and I think just Apple's, I would assume their battery is probably a little bit more expensive. So I'm assuming the longevity of the lifespan of the Apple over the Knockies is going to be a little bit better, but that has yet to be seen. I have noticed in my original AirPods, one of the earbuds does not charge it charges at 60%, maybe even 50%, and then one of them still charges to 80%. So there's like a discrepancy. They're getting worn down. I think I got mine in late 2017, and yeah, they're kind of crapping out. So that's another thing that sucks. You spend all this money on these products and they only will last a couple years. That to me is kind of bogus, especially on the part of Apple, because they're making so much money on these things. Please leave a comment down below. What are some headphones that you've used that you've really enjoyed? Doesn't matter if it's one of these headphones we've talked about on here. Please leave a comment down below so you can help out others as they are looking and shopping for headphones. If you don't share your opinion, other people can't benefit, and that's why I've created this video, is to help others. Please help everyone else that's watching this video down below. Thanks so much. And now let's reveal the total scores. On the right hand, you have the Knockies. You're gonna have a score out of 80 points for both these categories, 8 different categories, and you're going to have the Knockies at a 54 out of 80. On the left-hand side, you're gonna have the Apple AirPod Pros, and that is going to be a score of 62.5 out of 80. Now, do both of these have some areas of improvement? Absolutely. Neither of these are the perfect product, but one thing I do wanna say in recap of both of these products, I believe if you are just an Apple user, you like using Apple products, and you like the simpleness and convenience of using Apple, and you either have the money to spend on the AirPods or you don't, doing the Knockies or doing the Apple AirPod Pros are going to be a great option. If you were doing this because you simply thought this was going to be the best product out there, I think it's time to check out the Sound Sport 2s, I believe it is, by Bose, or also check out the Sennheiser Momentums. The Beats, the Powerbeat 2s are also going to be another one that will integrate very well into your iPhone. But honestly and truly, from what I've read and what I've heard and everything with those, if you're already looking at those, you save $50 because right now they're $200 as opposed to $250. Is that $50 worth it? Do you get a pretty close product to the AirPod Pros? Yeah, you're gonna get something that's fairly comparable, but I don't know what the call quality is like on those and talking to people. So for me, like I said, that's where I can't really recommend either way, because if you use them for calls, and like I do, that's gonna be a make or break thing for what headphones you get. So overall, do you get the Knockies? Do you get the AirPod Pros? Do you get something else? My opinion just depends. It depends on what kind of bank account you're working with, how much money you're working with. The AirPod Pros are not a bad product. They're not a bad device. They are honestly and truly fairly good. But are they worth the $250? My thought process is not really. Are the Knockies worth the $80? If you make any sort of calls, if that call quality is important to you, no, that is not a great product either. And that's why there are some lower end products out there that might be better for you. Otherwise, the other thing too is if you're not really in that category where you can afford the AirPod Pros and call quality is still important to you, check out the original AirPods or check out the AirPod 2s. That way you get it for a cheaper price, but that call quality is also there, because that's the thing. I've made a lot of calls on my original AirPods and the call quality is great. People can understand me, it's clear, etc., etc. So that is kind of my reasoning and rationale. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, please hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment down below. I'd love to know your opinion on the AirPod Pros as well as the original AirPods. Let everybody else know, and I will talk to you in the next video. Thanks so much. Catch you later. Bye.